All right, we are live. And for the very first time in my Daily Sigh life, I'm early. You're welcome. It's not for lack of trying, y'all. There have been some tech kerfuffles, but I think I've actually figured out at this point. So, welcome to the Daily Sigh. Everybody, quick. Deep breath, sigh of relief. If you're an entrepreneur trying to keep up with what actually matters, this is meant to be your daily sigh of relief. I go live every single business day at 6 p.m. Eastern, and to the best of my ability, I'm going to give you everything that I think matters in the entrepreneurial world. That's across business, AI, markets, platforms, and policy, all in 15 minutes or left. And I have a lot to cover today because a lot has happened. It's technically the first Monday of the year, and I think that everything just waited till Monday, and then it all overwhelmed us. If we haven't met, my name is Qasim. I'm a welfare baby turned Deca millionaire, and I help entrepreneurs who already have a real business but want cleaner steps, better tools, and a smarter way to grow in a post-AI world. And all of my content is and always will be free. My goal in life is to help you achieve your definition of freedom. If you want to subscribe to get the Daily Sigh directly in your inbox, go to dailysigh.ai. Let's get started. 15 minutes, zero fluff, high signal. Let's go. The story that I think leads is a shaky one, y'all. This is embarrassing and shameful. Not to hyperbolize the situation, and also not to laugh at somebody's misfortune. This is somebody I actually love. I know a lot of you hate him. Elon Musk's AI is generating disturbing and highly sexualized AI images, including some of minors, which is not laughable, and placing them, pushing them directly into X. Here's why I think this story leads. I think that we all need to be extraordinarily careful about how we use AI. And I don't care how small your business is, you're at risk when you're putting something like this in control of an output that has no supervision. So I think the rule, the SOP, for all business owners from now until forever, and this is the internal memo. This needs to go on Slack, or have a policy written, an email published. Document this somewhere, that all AI participation in your business has airlocks. What does airlocks mean? I made it up. Think about every sci-fi movie ever made, right? When like Sigourney Weaver's getting on the space station, she has to go into that little airlock place first, and then they close it, and then the repressurizes, and then they open it, right? It's like the introduction, and then what would you say? The input and the output are both monitored and proctored by a human being. So if you're using AI, the input needs to be monitored by a human being before you go spend all those extraordinarily expensive, sometimes, AI credits on whatever it is that you're producing. And then before you publish it, Elon, before you allow this machine to start, hitting print across your entire social network, there should be, and I realize in some instances and I'm being funny, right? The guy Elon's exponentially smarter than I'll ever be. Some things can't be monitored in that way. That's probably not true for you, my audience. 7-figure entrepreneurs. If you're producing or publishing anything, it needs to go through some semblance of review. Now, here's what's really funny. I learned this from Perry Belcher. You can scale that with AI too. So if you have a human being reviewing prompts, you can have an entirely separate bot assisting with the review. Same thing with the output. Just make sure that there's some level of airlock built with whatever it is that you're producing with AI. Otherwise, we're going to run into problems. And I think this is a perfect articulation of it to a really, really extreme degree. Second story, super interesting, something I'm super excited from. Builders admit social media is broken. So the co-founder of Twitter, whose name is Biz Stone, his real name is Christopher, by the way, but he goes by Biz because he means business. I think that's, sorry. And the co-founder of Pinterest, which, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to flex, that's not the one. But again, more successful than me. God bless you, Evan Sharp. They have teamed up. So Twitter plus Pinterest, which interestingly in my mind are both like, Twitter never made any money, and Pinterest is Pinterest. They've raised $29 million for a new app that they're calling Tangle. And it is designed to, quote, undo the terrible devastation of modern social media. The app centers on daily intention instead of infinite consumption. Love that. I also love the idea that community-first marketing is going to start to be fractionated. I think that we saw the rise of the category kings within the confines of social media, which is that's the very first thing that's going to happen, right? You're going to see massive consolidation. But then as people begin to define micro niche needs from a feature perspective, an access perspective, a community perspective, then we're going to see fractionalization. And that tends to kind of be the case with new technology, right? It's like, consolidation when we're all trying to figure it out, and then it breaks back down. And so I like this a lot because I think that it helps us. It helps small business owners. If you're a 7-figure business, which is my audience, right? You're making $1 million to 10. As soon as we bleed into the 8 figures, you start to have different problems. That small audience does really, really well with micro niche audiences. They're easier. It's easier for you to serve. It's easier for you to provide value. It's easier for you to talk to them. You can speak to them without scaling, right? You don't need to be like mass economies of scale. You're actually going to do better in these small communities. So my very strong advice to you is pay attention when things like this roll out. I'm not telling you Tangle is going to be a runaway hit. Chances are, statistically speaking, it won't be. What I am telling you is go play with it anyway, because if 10 launch, 1 will succeed, and it doesn't take very long for you to be an early adopter in all 10, waiting in the wings to try to see, wow, we're actually seeing some signs of life here. So just play with this stuff when it comes out, because I do think that these small community first platforms are going to be massive opportunities, especially if they apply to your niche. Some rapid fire. Health insurance shock. Apparently, I didn't know this. Pandemic subsidies expired January 1. So a lot of people's premiums jumped. If you're an employer, go check this out. Make sure your employees are checking it out, because your personal burn rate could possibly increase. Number 2, interestingly, we found that the data from 2025 shows that Made in USA did not save brands. As a matter of fact, that moniker doesn't mean better any longer from a psychological perspective, according to the surveys that were done. It just means more expensive, which is interesting because it was what people were using in the face of tariffs. So for whatever it's worth, from a marketing perspective, we always want to know, what are the little catalytic phrases that we can use that increase? I can tell you, when I had the highest performing real estate investment campaign on the planet for 7 years, and the one word that worked for us was fair. And we tried everything, right? We're like, best offer, highest offer, top offer. People wanted fair. Fair was the term for almost a decade. Made in the USA, from a retail perspective, used to mean higher quality. It doesn't necessarily mean that anymore, at least not to a broader demographic. It might, I think, when you lean silver. But just be careful when we get romantic about some of the things that have worked, because it doesn't mean that they're always going to. IPOs. So this comes from Daily Pitch, which is from it's PitchBook's daily newsletter. They're saying that 2025, and this is prognosticative, so there's no way to know this for an absolute fact, but their guess is that 2025 was a peak for IPOs, and it's all going to ratchet down from there. I think this is extraordinarily impactful for small businesses, for you and I, because we still make exits. We don't make great big $1 billion exits, right? We make smaller 7, 8, and if you're lucky, 9-figure exits. I've never made a 9-figure exit. There's a trickle-down effect with that entire ecosystem. And as the M&A world loses inventory, let's say, an IPO is it's the apex of the apex, right? Like that's where when they're done playing valuation arbitrage, that's where they basically unload companies onto us, the public. But when the inventory freezes up at the top, buyers trickle down to the bottom. This is actually what happened to me. I had an 8-figure exit in the agency space, which is really unusual at the time. And it's because it was right after COVID and SaaS deals froze. So then the M&A world went to e-com, because e-com looked a little bit like SaaS, and they thought they knew how to do the valuation. And then e-commerce deals froze. And so the M&A world went to agency, because agency looked kind of like e-com. And so I got more, to be frank, than maybe I would have otherwise, or maybe my business was worth, because it was just right time. And no matter what happens in the M&A world, these people still have to deploy. They raise money, and they don't make money unless they deploy. It's this really weird environment that they're in. They don't make money when money's made. They make money when they spend money or they flip assets. Evil humans, all of them, godless, soulless, brilliant. God bless you, M&A people. I don't want this to ever get super political, but this is applicable. I'm not going to talk about Venezuela in any other light other than the small business ecosystem, which is, it looks to have been at least part of the mix of why we just saw the biggest Dow Jones. We're at a Dow Jones all-time high, and the markets love it when the U.S. goes to war. So again, applicable to small businesses, because I think when you see things like that happen, what ends up also being the case is we see some liquidity loosen up a little bit from a spending power perspective. 2026 is the pundits, the armchair, who are never held accountable to their guesses, right, are telling us this is going to be a little tight. And this is, maybe some loosening in the very beginning, even if that ends up being true. A note for you, one thing that I wanted to start doing is offering some ideas as to how you can inject AI into your daily workflow. I had a conversation with Perry Belcher On New Year's, actually, he and I spoke for about 4 hours. Blessing to me to be able to be on the phone with a literal genius for 4 hours. And one of the things he said to me that stuck, and he's been saying it for a long time, is he goes, dude, you should be thinking about nothing else outside of AI integration. The biggest opportunity available right now to folks like us, to you and me. I mean, there are big opportunities, right? There's AI and there's building power centers and there's mining asteroids, but none of those feel accessible to me. The one opportunity that feels ultra accessible to me, that Perry's been harping on for a couple of years, is AI integration. You could right now today start an AI integration business. And so that's, that's maybe the closest, that's of all the big opportunities, that's the one that's most accessible to us. And it's not impossibly hard. You just need to know AI a little bit better than the person behind you. My note for you in terms of what I'm using for AI in my workflow is Replit. It's my new favorite vibe coding app. I own a vibe coding incubator, by the way. If you want, it's absolutely free. It's vcinc.ai, vcinc.ai. That would be vibecoding.ai. Some of the smartest vibe coders in the world, including two of the very first lovable ambassadors ever. I think we have over 1,500 people in the community, and it's absolutely free. So if you want to learn how to vibe code, go join. I've been playing with Replit. Replit for me is new, and I like it a lot because it feels like one of the more powerful tools when it comes to making API calls available in the back end without knowing code, which I don't. I'm a Luddite and a dummy when it comes to that stuff. And so I'm using Replit to build my AI first websites, which I think is going to be really important in the world of AEO. Somebody else asked me, why are you going live at this time? I had a long talk with my AI advisors, of which I recommend you creating some too. Go launch your ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, or to be honest with you, maybe all of them, and start building advisors along whatever level analysis you're investing in. And that might be things like customer success or outbound marketing or, your call center or your messaging or your marketing or whatever. I had these long conversations and I said, here's my audience. Here's what I'm trying to do. What's the best time for me to go live? And there were a handful of options. And really, it kind of narrowed down to three, to be honest with you. It was the morning commute, the evening commute, or late night. Late night's not available or accessible to me because I'm a dad and I want to be a dad. And as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to check out and I'm going to go take my kids to kickboxing. And so what felt good was it's 4 p.m. my time, it's 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm basically catching the entire Western world towards the end of their day, which is when I'm hopefully going to get the most engagement. All social platforms are prioritizing live, which I think makes a lot of sense because it's one of the hardest things to spoof from an AI perspective. So I'm not telling you have to go live. I'm just letting you know algorithmically what is to your benefit. And you can do before work, after work, or in the evenings. And I have friends doing all of those things. Perry Belcher's doing his AM morning club in the mornings. I'm doing after work. Christine Marie is doing evenings, or has been historically. I don't know if she still plans on doing that long term, but she's worth tuning into if you haven't gone to her knowing show. Closing thoughts: the gap between intent and impact. Good intentions don't protect you. Impact does. And I think really the reason that I want to bring that up has more to do with the use of AI than anything else. Be careful about these tools. Right now, you and I are toddlers with handguns. And that's almost not even an exaggeration. Like, these things are unbelievably potent and powerful. Just please put up some guardrails and make sure that your team does too. If you don't have business insurance, go get it. I'm not an affiliate. I use Hiscox, Hiscox. Hiscox Business Insurance bailed me out twice now. They're affordable, they're accessible, and again, I make no money on that mention other than I know that they've worked and I've been really happy with them. If there's something I missed that happened today that you think I should have touched on, please message me on whatever platform you see me on. If you want the Daily Sigh directly to your inbox, go to dailysigh.ai to sign up. And I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Daily Sigh. Now, take a deep sigh of relief because you're all caught up.